Hi, I'm Suneera Madhani, and I'm a mom of two, a daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who went from scaling an idea to $1 billion business. Yes, $1 billion business. Along the way, I learned that less than 2% of female founders ever hit 1 million in revenue, and I became obsessed on a mission to change that. I believe that there is so much gatekeeping in business knowledge, and that we as female entrepreneurs should be learning from other female founders and leaders who have broken the statistics. Since I never went to CEO school, I've had to learn it all the hard way, but you shouldn't have to, because we believe that you deserve to have it all. And honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Suneera Madhani, and of course, we are bringing you live from a different location. Again, we are in New York City, my favorite city in the world. And not only are we in New York, I have chills, you guys. I am currently at the New York Stock Exchange, and I am here for the most incredible women's summit, women's exchange, powered by Super Momos, and they have graciously given me this amazing room and space to record the CEO podcast live from the New York Stock Exchange. You guys, this has been my dream ever since I can remember starting a company to take my company public. And to be here today, although we're not ringing the bell today, it really does light this amazing fire of inspiration in me. And I'm thinking of every single founder that's listening to the show today. Y'all are all here in the room with me, and I just have super chills. We're going to be doing our first episode here. And another quick what's happening in the room. It is absolutely nuts. You probably can't see this, but right behind us on this side is also my family. They're here watching live with us. My girls are here. My husband's here. My brother is here. My family is here. And my friends are here, and it's super exciting. So today is so special. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on our first guest today. We're going to be doing some mini series today because we're here at the New York Stock Exchange for an incredible women's conference. And at the conference, as the speakers are coming off stage, we figured what an amazing opportunity to bring them into the room, share these stories about these incredible women, and share them here with you on the podcast. So I'm really pumped. And with that, without further ado, I have our first guest today is Emma Bengtsson. And Emma is a Swedish chef that is not just any chef. She is a 2-star Michelin chef. So for the foodies out there that are listening, it is so hard as a chef to just want to be a woman. Although we think that this is such like a female industry of chef and culinary arts, it is still probably one of the most male-dominated fields in existence. And not only to earn your rights as head chef, but then to open up your restaurant in New York City, not only to get 1 Michelin star, but 2 Michelin star. Emma is the first Swedish chef to earn it, period, and the second woman in the entirety to earn 2 Michelin stars. And I'm so excited to talk to Emma today. Emma, welcome to CEO School.
Thank you. Wonderful.
I'm so excited to have you. I told Emma was like, let's just, Emma's a little bit nervous. She's a chef. She's like, I'm usually behind. And I was like, let's pretend we're on our 3rd glass of wine. So I'm back here in your tasting room having the 3rd glass of wine. Emma, can you just walk me through about your journey of, what inspired you to be a chef and how you built, your restaurant Aquavit?
I think the inspiration of being a chef and comes from a long line of women in my family. My grandma particularly, but my mom too, always cooking. I grew up in this environment of home cooked food, finding things on the market, eating fish, eating things that you would maybe not normally eat as a kid. So I had that privilege to experience all of that. And believe it or not, it wasn't my first career choice. I really wanted to be a fighter pilot.
A fighter pilot.
Pilot. Yeah. So I wanted to go into the military. I was very active as a kid. And you weren't allowed to do that until you turned 18. So I had to figure out a plan. And eating and cooking and doing all those kind of things always came very easy for me. Sitting in school, sitting still, nah, I can't do
So
it.
you're always like using your hands, and food was always part of the family. I totally relate to that. I grew up in the most incredible food household. Like my family, every single night, like I don't even think we ate the same thing for lunch as we did dinner. There was way too much food all the time being, just being cooked. And I have a Pakistani family. And so it was like, everyone's always over. There's always fresh food. My grandmother lived with me. Everything was always from scratch, like nothing. Like everything was always fresh from, the market straight into what we were eating. And my father actually growing up, one of the things he would do with my brother and I is we'd literally cook as a family. And at like the youngest age, he would put us in charge of like, okay, I'm in charge of if I'm making if he's making the protein, okay, I'm in charge of picking a side and making that side from start to finish. And then it would like progress and it would be so fun. And we would watch like the Food TV network nonstop. And so even during COVID, like even as adults, we like literally played like real life Chopped for like family birthdays. So
That's amazing.
When I tell you we're like such a foodie family, it's real. So I totally relate to that. What was like that moment of like, how did it happen? So you're like, okay, I'm going to become a chef. And then I'm sure your journey wasn't overnight, start a restaurant to Michelin stars.
Well, when I started culinary school, I went from being the worst student, F graded, to top of my class and then top of the entire school and graduating with standing ovation at the end of 3 years. And I was like, oh my God, I'm good at something. Like this is maybe what I'm supposed to do. And I put the military behind me and like, yeah, I think this is what I'm meant to do. And I started off wanting to be a cook into the savory part, but ended up in pastry. So I actually was a pastry chef for almost the first 14 years of my career. And it wasn't until Aquavit in 2010 that I took on the role as executive chef. And
so you went straight from pastry into Aquavit. And what kind of cuisine is Aquavit?
So Aquavit is considered Scandinavian cuisine, obviously with a bigger touch of Sweden, where I'm from. So it's just easier to cook. Everyone always asks me, what kind of food do you do? And I was like, I cook food that I want to eat. Why would I ever cook something that doesn't resonate with what I want to eat myself? And I feel like as long as you do that, you always have a tendency of hopefully creating love on a plate, because it's what I'm dying to eat. So it's my way of showing the world what I love to eat.
I love that. I'm like super excited. I'm like hungry for lunch right now. I'm like dying to try your food. What are some of like the most like, what makes your food so like, what's unique about like obviously Scandinavian food? There's not a lot of Scandinavian restaurants. It's not a cuisine that is, probably readily, at restaurants currently today. What kind of cuisine is Scandinavian cuisine and what do you love to cook? What are some of like your favorite things?
I think the cuisine in itself is very clean. A lot of fish, a lot of seafood, a lot of smoking and pickling, brining, curing. So you have a lot of obviously that saltiness and umami flavors coming through. A lot of people might be a little bit confused with, we're very almost at the borderline with Japanese cuisine and flavor profile.
Really?
So you can see the similarity between the two of them, because even though Sweden is an island, it's surrounded with so much water and the techniques are very, very old. Nordic cuisine in itself, before it got a hype up, is very, very old in that way, where you have to survive the winters. How do you get your fish that you fish in the summer? How can you eat that for Christmas? And that's where kind of those flavor profile comes from. And that's what I love to cook too. So I think there's not a single plate on my menu that doesn't have something that's pickled or smoked as well. So
I love that. And I love the tradition and like the deeply rooted tradition and the tradition of doing it the right way, that this is historic. This is the way that it's been done for so long. And I love what you said was like love on a plate. And I could feel that like that level of passion. And I really want to, one of the things that you said is that you were failing in culinary school with grades, like F grades, and then you're at the top of your class. I mean, that is just such an inspiring story because not everyone is made out for school. I feel that way in a lot of, for entrepreneurs. I get to interview entrepreneurs, and you're an entrepreneur. And I want to ask you about the business side because it is CEO school. But, we never usually made the best students. Like most successful entrepreneurs were not the ones that had the best grades in school. And it is really inspiring to say when you do find your passion and you're like, here's what I'm really good at, you're able to really make it successful. And because this is CEO school, I want to talk to you about the business of the restaurant. A lot of chefs, when they're getting started and all, what is it like now owning their restaurant versus being the head chef? Or do you miss, being more creative? Is it hard on the business side? Like, what's the business side like of the restaurant?
So I'm not the owner from the beginning. Okay. The restaurant is really old in itself. It's almost 37 years. So
you don't have to worry about that side of it.
I don't worry about the bigger side of it, the kitchen side and the budget that I have to put into place, everything from budgeting for the food costs to staffing to ingredients, everything that goes into that part of the business, the back of the house and the labor cost. That is something that I have to deal with, which is something that it's very hard, and I'm hoping to pick up some tips today about it. And I want to learn more. I did not pay enough attention in school when it comes to
It's okay.
That.
They don't teach it to you in school anyway. It's leadership, right? It's exactly that is entrepreneurship. You have to run a team. You have to run back of the house. You have to drive efficiency. You have to make sure that your produce and all of the food is not wasted, right? And so you are on a budget. So you are definitely that is entrepreneurial in and of itself. Emma, to kind of close this off, I do want to ask you, I mean, earning 2 Michelin stars, like how does it feel? And like, what is it like being one of the only women? How are you paving the path for more, obviously just by being inspiring for doing so, but how did you do it?
By never sleeping, I think. I worked really hard, long days, long hours, weeks turning into months. It's one of those things where I always try and tell people, like, if you're gonna be successful specifically in the hospitality industry, but I guess maybe any industry, you have to stop thinking about it as a job.
Yeah.
Like this is my life. I live and breathe what I do, and even if I'm not there, it's always in my mind. It never really goes away. So I think the success comes from never taking no for an answer and never settle. Like what's the next push? What's the next that's coming? We have a saying at the restaurant where it's like, if you're one step ahead, you're one step behind. So it's always striving for that, but it's extremely stressful. Having 2 stars and keeping them, it's
I really appreciate that. You're so super spot on with this. Like my heart is like smiling from ear to ear. It is so hard. And it gets even harder when you are successful. Like I can very personally relate to what you're talking about. I'm in the middle of launching. We just launched our second company. So I had a really massive exit on my first one. We are starting again in, a different industry, similar, we're in fintech, but doing it again. And the expectations of the market are super high because we have been successful in doing it the first time around. But to keep at that level of expectation is also a lot of pressure. And what you said in particular also about like, how did you get there? You worked hard. I mean, hard work is the shortcut. There is no other way around it. And you just have to out hustle, outbeat, outwork, outsmart, and be not one step ahead, because that's not even enough, right? Being one step ahead is not enough. You have to be 10 steps ahead, and you're still constantly feeling like you're behind. That's hard.
It's very hard.
It's really hard. And that's why people don't have it, right? Like that's the difference. That's the difference of your success and getting that 2 Michelin versus everyone else. And it's not like other people don't work hard, right? So you still have to have, there's still that level of talent that needs to be there, that level of magic that needs to be there. And I think that there's like this perfect, like, I look back even on our journey and I'm like, what was it that made it so special? And it was, you have to have all of those ingredients, right? No pun intended, right? We have to have all of those ingredients to make that perfect dish, but you can do everything right on paper, but it still has to have this like level of magic. And there is that, it's not just about like the perfect, because I see women all the time, especially because it's what I get to be around, that are really working hard at their businesses. But it's a lot more. It's also about the relation. It's all about these intangible things that you can't put perfectly on a recipe. Right. And those are those extra things that have to be there to make that like that perfect, that for the magic to really happen. And so it's hard work. It's the grit. It's the resiliency. It's being that 10 steps ahead. But then it's also, everything has to also work out. How did the Michelin piece like happen? So did you know they were coming in, or was it like blind, and like, were you prepared?
So you know nothing.
You know nothing.
You can guess, and you can think, and you can, oh my God, maybe it's that table today, maybe it's that. So you never know. And when I took over, it's
even worse.
I know.
It's like every day you're just serving at that. You have to serve at that level of excellence every single day.
Every guest is always the guest, and that doesn't matter, in my opinion, who you are.
Yeah.
Every guest who comes in should all be treated as royalty, no matter how famous you are, no matter who you are. You just have to always constantly pushing it. You can't have a down day. It's hard to say. I had a regular guy who comes in quite a lot, and he said, you can go to a sport event and your favorite team might have a bad day, and you go, okay, that wasn't a bad day. You go to a restaurant and you expect excellency every single time. If you don't get the roof that you wanted to see from that place, then you're disappointed, and you might write a bad review, or you be upset, and your day is ruined. And it's really hard I don't think that everyone understands how much pressure.
I don't think people do. I actually appreciate this conversation so much, because I feel like this needs to be shared. It is a lot of, of course we realize that there is pressure in all sorts of industries, but what you're saying is, it almost feels like it is life or death, like at every single moment, every single customer. That's so much pressure. Emma, how do you practice self-care? How do you manage that stress?
I try a lot of things during the years, but right now I'm into the whole ice bath situation.
Are you really?
I think it's the only thing that can turn my brain off for a minute.
So do you do it every day? Do you have a cold plunge at home?
I have one at the gym, so every other day. But I've noticed that is one of the few things that make my brain go, okay, what are we doing? Like, stop. Like, and it just quiets down, and it just,
that is so
think
hard.
About something else.
Oh my God. I did a cold plunge at a friend's birthday. Like, we did this Tulum trip it was the most amazing trip that I did with our friends. And I did not think that I could last in that thing for like 30 seconds. I ended up doing the full, I think it was like 3.5 minutes was the goal. I ended up doing the 3.5 minutes. And the reason why I think this is a great story to share here, the reason why I ended up doing it is because one of our friends, she went in first and she was able to do it. And when you see, and this is where like you can't be what you can't see, because if the first person had gone and been like, nope, it's too hard, we can't do it, maybe we all would have chickened out. But the first person was in it and we were all cheering her on. Like, it was like this group effort of making her feel like she can do it. She can do it. And we were all supporting her. And I knew she didn't want to let us down. And so she made it through. And so when I got in, I'm like, okay, I'm done. This is not going to happen. But then when you're looking at everyone and you don't want to let your friends down, you don't want to let people fail, they were all around like just cheering me on. And I'm like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. And I made it through. And I think it's like such an important lesson in everything we do in life. And coming back to like, you now earning like only the second woman to earn a Michelin, like that 2 Michelin, like this needs to change, right? But I think once you're there, you pave the way for others. And hopefully that's what you do in the culinary industry, Emma. I hope you get to earn more. Are there going to be more restaurants that you're opening? What's next for you now?
Oh, I don't know. I'm here learning and seeing what everyone is talking about. It's a scary thing, right? Having your own business or opening, specifically a restaurant, which is notorious to fail, right? It's 50% of restaurants close within a year or something like that. So it's not even the best business to go into. But maybe one day in the future, when I'm ready and when I'm there, well, maybe a little bed and breakfast.
I love that. Honestly, I didn't know where this, like, by the way, our third glass of wine is delicious. We're not actually having wine right now, but it is so, like, I do feel like I'm so glad we had this conversation because I feel really inspired right now. Like, it's hard. Like, business is so hard. Excelling in anything is hard. But just the odds that you had to go through, you're so right. Like, your industry is so difficult. Like, all of us have much easier, and nothing is easy. But at that level, you're so totally right. 50% of restaurants fail, right? 50% of them fail the hard way every single day. Do you even get to take a vacation? What happens when you have to leave?
There's computers and phones and emails, but I try and cut it off.
Good.
Go somewhere without Wi-Fi. You're like, oh my God, there's no Wi-Fi.
No, this is so incredible. I feel so inspired, Emma, and I can't wait to try the restaurant. Where is it in New York? Tell us how we can find it and how can we support you? So how can we rally around this? We've got the most incredible tribe of women here to support women. So Emma, you make an ask and our community it's happening. So how can we support Aquavit and you?
Well, I think it would be wonderful to see all of you come visiting the restaurant.
Yes, we're going to do a CEO school worth collaboration. We're going to do an amazing event at your restaurant.
And it doesn't even always have to be to sit down for a 3-hour meal. They could come to a bar, try some actual aquavit, some pickled fish maybe if you're adventurous enough for it. But I think in general, I feel like there's so many female chefs out there. You just don't see us all the time because we're not making a big statement where we are. And I think if we just as a bigger group of women start researching restaurants and see who are actually run by women and give them a try and find them, because I think there's a lot of them in New York. 60, 70 restaurants are run by top women. And I think showing up, that's the most important thing.
We're here to show up. I'm like getting emotional, just like we are here to show up. It's so important. And what you said, about we as women, this is like, I want this to be a takeaway here. We have to take credit. We have to be loud. There isn't another option. Right? If we're not loud, then no one's going to get to hear and try all this amazing, our products, our services, our companies. Yes, we all need to rally as well, but it is also our responsibility to change the way for our daughters and for the future. And so we have to be loud about it. And I'm so glad that we got a chance to connect. And I want to make you a promise as well. So if you have other amazing chefs that you want me to interview, I would love to have them on to amplify their voices. And we can put it inside of all the things inside CEO School so that we can make sure that wherever we are into different cities and traveling, and women have the most, like literally the wealth is transferring to women. We will literally be the biggest. We are running the GDP today. And so we want to spend money at women-supported businesses. So you've got our community here backing you 100% of the way.
Thank you.
I'm super excited. All right, let's follow Chef Emma as well online. So I'll be linking everything for Aquavit inside of the show notes. We could follow you. I see you're on Instagram. And so we'll link all of the things in the show notes. I cannot wait to come try the food. Thank you for being part of CEO School today.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you loved it, leave us a review. We are so proud to bring you authentic conversations, game changer expert guests, and valuable content on and offline. The best compliment you can give us is by screenshotting today's show and tagging us on Instagram at CEO School and at Suneera Madhani. We are obsessed with swag, so don't be surprised if we want to send you some. Thanks for tuning into class today, and remember, nothing bad happens when women make more money.